Hi, my name is Mary Catherine, and today we will be speaking on a Christian worldview of self-love. Self-love is one of the many mantras American culture has adopted. And from personal experience and observation, it is constantly popping up on my media feed. When researching the definition of self-love, Dr. Kashiba, who has a doctorate degree in psychology, posted on Psychology Today some intriguing insights on this topic. According to her article, self-love is a state of self-appreciation that results when your behavior supports the need for physical, psychological, and spiritual growth. Furthermore, one of the ways to develop self-love is by accomplishing your goals and seeing the put effort towards your purpose. Dr. Kashiba also wrote that self-love is an essential aspect of living well. However, as Christians, how are we supposed to view self-love? And how can we honor God through it? Well, a Christian worldview of self-love is accomplished by recognizing the biblical description of self-love, the perfect love of God, and the purpose of God's creation, which brings us to point 1, the biblical description of self-love. When focusing on Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, it reads, "But you shall love your neighbor as yourself, I am the Lord." Many of you have probably experienced this phrase in casual conversations with your friends, family, or even acquaintances. However, when taking this verse into context, John Piper explains that Jesus assumes that we already love ourselves. He uses it as a measure of how we treat people. This phrase can also be examined in Luke chapter 10, verse 27, which reads, "And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." When further examining Luke chapter 10, verse 27, John Piper developed the Christian definition of self-love based on that verse, which is the pursuit for happiness and avoidance of harm. For example, when we are hungry, we feed ourselves. When we are sad, we try to make ourselves happy. So we should want the same things for others around us. Which brings us to point 2, the perfect love of God. As Christians, we have the perfect example of love because God sent Jesus to this earth to save his creation, as well as Jesus dying on the cross because he loved us too. So in application, we as Christians do not have to look inward to find love. As Jen Wilkins, author and Bible teacher, says, rather we need to look outward towards God, whose love is made perfect within us, referencing 1 John chapter 4, verse 12. Which brings us to point 3, the purpose of God's creation. In a Desiring God article, James Beaver, who is pursuing a theology degree, wrote that true love is accepting that we as believers are the redeemed people, meaning that we recognize that we are accepted by God because Christ is worthy, not ourselves. The purpose of every Christian is to do the will of God, making disciples and sharing the gospel to others. In application, John Piper puts it as, I am on a mission to help you feel so good about the greatness of God that you forget about yourselves and live a life of love, making others glad in Christ. In conclusion, self-love rings through the American noise, but perfect love resounds in the hearts of believers. It is the purpose given by God to Christians to share the gospel of perfect love to others so that they have a chance to be saved by grace as well. As Christians, love is not found, as Dr. Kashiba says, by looking inwards or accepting that or accomplishing your goals, seeing the put effort. Instead, we should know how to love because God loved us and sent his son Jesus Christ to die on the cross for us. We should continually pursue the heart's happiness and wellness for others that they have a chance to be saved like we as believers have. Overall, a Christian worldview of self-love is found by recognizing the biblical definition of self-love, the perfect love of God, and the purpose of God's creation. Thank you.